Hey everyone. So, I never really thought that I would make a video about speedruns, because honestly, I don't really care too much about speedruns. I'm not somebody who really feels the need to. I'm not that competitive, and I don't really feel the need to be a pro gamer who is really good at doing something in the fastest possible time, like saving a half a second on a particular room in a video game or something like that. It's not really my kind of style. But I relatively recently became aware of something called tool assisted speedruns, or TAS for short. And basically, what it is, it's the concept of basically an automated speed run. So instead of somebody having to be really good at a game to do the speed run, the computer kind of plays the game for you automatically, if that makes sense. So basically, the instead of you having to have perfect timing and execute everything perfectly, it's almost kind of like a puzzle. Like you kind of put together the right set of inputs, and then the computer just plays it, just plays those inputs, and plays the game for you automatically. If you've never seen what I'm talking about, maybe it's easier to see it than to have it explained. If you go on YouTube and just search around, you'll find a bunch of videos about tool assisted speedruns, and or a bunch of videos of tool assisted speedruns. And most of them are for console games, so there's a ton of tool assisted speedruns for you know, Nintendo games, Sega Genesis games, or Mega Drive games, is, depending on what continent you're from, etc., etc. There's not that many of them for DOS games. There are some, but there are not that many. And tool-assisted speedrunning for consoles is, I would say, a fairly mature community, but there just really are not a lot of people who are doing that kind of thing for DOS games. There are a few. Like, there's a really incredible... For example, there's just an amazing tool-assisted speedrun of the first episode of Wolfenstein 3D. If you go and look it up, I think it finishes, like, the first episode of Wolfenstein 3D in, like, 3 minutes or something like that. It's absolutely insane to watch. It's like one of the most insane things I've ever seen in any DOS game. But I'm kind of a newbie to this whole scene, and I had no idea what I was doing until very recently, so I wanted to kind of get started with that myself, and it's a little bit difficult for a few reasons. I think the tools in the tools for tool-assisted speedrunning for DOS are not that mature, and part of that means that they're not that well documented. So I just wanted to put together a short video just to show how, at least how I figured out how to do it. I'm not saying this is the best way to do it. Maybe there are better ways to do it, but this is the way that I figured out how to do it. The first thing you'll need, of course, is the tool, the actual program that lets you do tool-assisted speedruns. Now, what most people use, in fact, the only one that I found that seems to have any sort of currency for doing DOS tool-assisted speedruns, is called JPC. Hold on, helps if I'm in the right window here. It's called JPC-RR. I don't know what that stands for. I mean, I'm guessing probably PC stands for PC, personal computer, but I don't know what the other letters stand for. But anyway, and this is just, it's just like any other sort of emulation scene. There are different programs for different platforms. There's another program for tool-assisted speedruns called BizHawk, B-I-Z or Z Hawk. And it's a similar program which works for many consoles, and it also works notably for the Apple II and the Commodore 64. So if you want to do speed runs for those platforms, you can. But yeah, I'm going to be focusing on DOS today. So so here's the very, very basics of how to get started with JPC-RR. First, you need to download it. There are, source code listings available. Like, you can compile a source if you want, but I just downloaded a pre-compiled binary for Windows, which is all this stuff here. Yeah, it's a Java program. It's actually that jar file there. That's the program, basically, and you can see the sources are included. So you can just start it with this batch file, but before you can do anything useful with it, you'll want to have an operating system. And what most people do is they will just get the FreeDOS image for this. So unfortunately, this program, it doesn't just let you use normal, like standard floppy or hard disk image files. You need to kind of convert them to a format which JPC-RR can read. And so I guess probably the easiest thing to do, which is what I've done here, if you look in the disk library directory here, so the program comes with the BIOS and the VGA BIOS files, but there's also a file here called FreeDOS, which I added. So you can find it online. If you go and look online on the Tool Assisted Speedrun website, it has kind of like an intro on how to use JPC-RR, and it gives you a pre-prepared FreeDOS sort of image file here that you can use with this. You can't just use any FreeDOS image. You can't just use like the standard ISO FreeDOS image that you get from the FreeDOS website. You can't even use the floppy image because it's, you know, it's like a standard floppy format. And like I said, JPC-RR can't use standard image formats for whatever reason. But okay. Fine. So I got the FreeDOS file from the Tool Assisted Speedrun website. You put it in the disk library directory, and that should be all you need to do to at least boot it. So I'm going to go back here and just say start. Yeah, run the batch file, and it should run. There we go. It's running. So, okay. So this is the initial setup here. So yeah, the BIOS image is the BIOS. The VGA BIOS is the VGA BIOS image. Here you can choose images for the 2 floppy drives. And for the, you can have up to 4 hard drives. What's kind of funny is people who are actually seriously speedrunning with this will put the hard drive image on HDD because it makes it go faster. Not even joking, it saves a few milliseconds on boot time if you put your hard drive image on HDD instead of HDA. You can have a CD-ROM image as well. The rest of this is blah, blah. I'm not going to talk about this too much right now. But yeah, you need to have obviously some kind of disk image because just like with a real PC, if you have no disk of any kind, then you can't boot. You have the BIOS, but the BIOS can't actually boot into anything useful if it doesn't have a boot medium to boot from. So for floppy disk A, I'll go ahead and say that it's FreeDOS. So this shows up because I have the FreeDOS image in the disk images folder. If I didn't have this, then this would just be, if I didn't have that FreeDOS image in there, this would be blank, which means the machine couldn't boot. So I'll go ahead and say that floppy drive A contains FreeDOS, and I'll say assemble. And assemble basically means put together the machine that's just about to run. And I think it's running. Hold on, I need to find the, oh, it's actually this window here. Okay. So this actually starts 4 different windows. One of them is this virtual keyboard here, which is kind of funny. We'll talk about that in a minute. One of them is this Lua window. I guess you can type in Lua commands here, and this is some kind of stats on the emulator. But for right now, we have this is the main window here. So okay, let's go ahead and get this thing booted. So I think all you have to do, I mean, if you want, you can like poke around these menus here and see the different options here. Most of these are probably relevant to people who are actually going to be doing speedruns with this. I'm not going to be doing any speedruns with this right now. I'm just showing you how to get it running at all. This is just like, it's not a speedrun, it's a run. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. It even has like this menu where you can choose different mouse movements here because, you know, you have to be precise. Like you can put in the speed run that I'm moving the mouse down by 30 pixels or 10 pixels or something. But anyway, okay. I think we're all set. So under the system menu, just hit start and it should start. There we go. And you can see it is actually basically a modification of Box, B-O-C-H-S, which is a PC emulator. If you look at nearly any DOS tool-assisted speedrun, you'll see that everybody's basically done what I've just done here, which is, you know, get something based on Box, which is probably this, JPC-RR, and then just have FreeDOS running on it. This is like the standard setup that pretty much every DOS tool-assisted speedrunner uses, like every single one. So we're here. So it did boot correctly. You can see that FreeDOS booted, and I'm at the command prompt here. And the funny thing about it is that as soon as you start the machine like this, the recording has already started. So it's actually recording my inputs now. I'm not doing anything, so there are no inputs to record. But if I do anything with the machine, it will actually record my inputs into this machine now. It's basically recording my speed run at this point. And it's kind of funny. You can actually speed run things that are not games. Like you can speed run DOS application programs. Get a word processor in here and speed run how fast you can type Hamlet or something. I don't know. Whatever. Who knows? So yeah, that's it. So we got it to boot. Okay, that's great. One thing I will mention here, excuse me. One thing I will mention here is I don't know why, but for some reason this doesn't let you type with your real keyboard. If you want to type, you need to pull out this virtual keyboard window here. So if I want to type like the letter A, for example, I have to press on the A here. It won't type A if I just press A on my real physical keyboard. And also the keys here are persistent. You see how the A here is stuck down? I have to click on A again to release it. And then if I want to type a second A, I have to click on A a third time and release it again. And if I want to backspace, now I have to click on backspace 4 times. So it's a little clunky, or more than a little clunky perhaps, but I guess that also has something to do with the whole speedrunning thing. I mean, this is not a general purpose PC emulator. I mean, it is Box, which is a general purpose PC emulator, but it's been configured specifically for tool-assisted speedrunning. So it's a little different from what you might be used to in Box. Okay. So that's great. We have a working machine here, but now how do we get a game or some other kind of application in here that we can use for anything? So there are a few different ways of doing it. I mean, you can use another image. You can create an image file, but what most people do is if you go to the Drives menu and say Import Image, what you can actually do here is type in a folder or a directory on your local PC. So what I've done for the purposes of this video is I've copied the files from the original King's Quest for DOS into my local C:\KQ, KQ1 folder. So I can say, is this a floppy disk or a... Let's try leaving it at floppy disk. Let's see. I mean, I guess I could say it's a hard disk, but it might be easier just to do a floppy disk. I need to type an image name, so I'll say KQ1. Sure, why not? Is it going to... Let's see. I don't know if it makes a difference if it's a double-sided or not. If you import more than a single-sided floppy is like 700 something K of kilobytes of data. If you try to import more than that, it will actually fail. If you don't turn on double-sided, it'll say that's too much data for one side of a disk. I'm just curious, is this going to work? Oh, it worked. Okay, new image imported. Okay, that's fine. Okay, dismiss. So there we go. So now if I go back to my... hold on, let me see. If I go back to my DOS prompt, I can't actually do that because this is showing the status for the... this is showing the status there. But if you go into your... yeah, see, it actually shows you here. It says that in the disk library folder or directory, it created a file called KQ1 with no extension. There's no file extension. It's just a file called KQ1, no extension. So we should be able here now to say drives FDB... can I not? Hold on, let's see. I might need to stop. Oh, let me stop the machine here and say assemble. Yeah, there we go, and that brings back this window here. So now can I say, yes, now I can say floppy drive B is King's Quest 1. Okay, and say assemble. And if I say start again, does it, yeah, it restarts the computer. It does a reboot. That's fine. Okay, no problem. So we've done a reboot here. So theoretically now, it should, if I say B now, B colon enter, here we go, I've got the B drive now. So let's just do a quick dir here. And I do indeed have kq1.com there. So yeah, I think we're all set. That's how you create an application image. You basically create you import a whole directory on your computer and it automatically makes a JPC-RR compatible image file, which you can then just load. Okay, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do it. Let's say KQ1, enter. And it informs me that this version of the game has been modified to run correctly. So we press escape. And hey, it's running. It's running without any audio. I don't hear any audio. I think... I don't know if I need to modify this to have audio, but I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure you can get audio from this, but it's by default not configured to use audio. But I don't think there's any. I actually don't think there's any option here. Yeah, you have to do some setup to get audio working, but that's fine. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Just press a key to start the game. Hey, there we go, and it's King's Quest, and the status bar at the top is all messed up, as you can see. I don't know why. But other than that, things look correct. And if I say left, he walks to the left. And if I say right, he walks to the right. And if I press right again, he stops. So yeah, it's working. I'm just curious, if I type, hold on. Okay, so I can type on the command line there at the bottom, and that looks fine. If I press enter, oh, that's weird. Why is the game text messed up? I actually didn't test this. I didn't test that before making the video. I didn't check to see that the text here shows up correctly. So, that's a little unfortunate. Okay, curious. I don't know why that's happening. But anyway, can I get rid of this dialog box now? No, I can't. It looks like that crashed the game. That's lovely. Okay, well, that's not ideal. That appears to be a problem with this game running in this emulator, but that's okay. I've done some stuff. So the important thing is I've done a few things. Like I made Graham walk around a bit. So actually what I can do at this point is I can save my speedrun. I can say that's my speedrun. And how do you save the contents of your speedrun? You go to the snapshot folder. And, oh, actually, before you do this, you need to stop the machine. So if you go to the system menu and say stop, now the PC has been frozen. If you look here in the status window, yeah, PC emulation stopped. So so now nothing's running. It's basically just suspended. So now if I go to the snapshot menu and say save, I can say save a movie. Now, when we say movie here, this is not a movie as you're probably thinking of. You're probably thinking of like a video file, like an MPEG file, like an MP4 or an AVI file or something like that. It is not a video file. This so-called movie file is actually what most tool-assisted speedrun tools would call an input file. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It has saved my inputs. So I'll go ahead and save this as just KQ1, save the movie. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to go ahead and quit out of this just for a second. And if we look at we should see the file here now, right? Yeah, there it is. So it's a 7 kilobyte file. But if I open it up in Notepad, you can see it's actually, it's obviously, again, it's not a video file. It's not like an AVI or an MPEG file. It is literally all these key edge things here. It has literally recorded my keystrokes, what key I pressed, and at what time, at how many frames after the beginning of the video, or at the beginning of the, again, movie in quotation marks. What keys did I press and when? So you know, this is the header file with basic information, and then it just starts listing all my keystrokes, and that's it. Most of the rest of the file is just the keystrokes, and then at the end, it has information on the game files here. There are MD5 checksums here of the, I think those are checksums of the game itself. I'm not sure if you can hand edit this file. I haven't tried that. So theoretically, if you wanted to speed things up, if you wanted to make a real speed run, you could edit the times, because one of these numbers here in each of these lines is, again, it's the time, it's the number of frames after the start that I press the key. So probably either this number or this number or this number is the time that I press the key. And you could make those numbers really short to make it look like you typed like a wizard, just typed super fast and did all the keyboard inputs at light speed. You could do that to make your inputs faster. I don't know if that works. Like, I don't know if it's going to refuse it and say, no, the checksums don't add up because there's this MD5 at the bottom and the checksums don't add up. You can try it. I haven't tried it yet. Like I said, I'm still very new to this. I'm just making this video after having gotten like the slightest clue about having to do this. So, but in any case, this is what is normally called an input file in the tool-assisted speedrun community. It records your inputs, and you can play it back. You can play it back, and playing back this file is basically playing the speedrun, this tool-assisted speedrun. It just repeats your inputs that you did. So let's get out of Notepad. Let's start JPC-RR again. And so once again, I'll say, yeah, floppy drive A is my FreeDOS operating system, and drive B is King's Quest 1. Okay, assemble. And I don't need to say start just yet, because what I want to do before booting the machine, because remember, once you hit start, it actually starts recording. I don't want to record yet. What I actually want to do is load my speedrun. So I'll say, under snapshot, I'll say load a movie. And there's my King's Quest 1 movie. Load it. Okay. And that's it. And now if I say, now I can just say system start. And that's it. It should do the rest automatically, theoretically. Let's see what happens. I think, let's just see. I think I waited a long time at the beginning. I think it actually is going to... Oh, wait, no, it's actually going. Yeah, see, I'm not doing anything. This is all happening automatically. I've got my hands off the keyboard. It is actually, it's typing these commands automatically. And now in a second it's going to say, yeah, okay, type KQ1. Yeah, I mean, obviously I talked a lot in this video, and so before typing anything, I explained what I was doing, and so it's recording the time that it took me to talk. It's like it's an actual recording of what I did. But yeah, it ran the game, and after a bit it's going to advance beyond this screen. And you might notice that it's running very slowly. I don't know why. Like, I haven't done anything to try to tweak the times to make it run faster or make it, more enjoyable to watch, because obviously stuff like this, you can kind of skip. I mean, you can't really skip things, but theoretically you should at least be able to change the playback speed. That seems reasonable to me that you could do that. I don't know. I haven't played with the speed or anything like that. I haven't actually. Again, I'm not really. For me, it's not about the speed. It's more. I just like the idea of automation, of being able to automate games like this, so you can kind of get through. If there's a particularly boring or a particularly difficult part of a game, you can kind of automate playing that part. I guess you can't just automate individual parts. I don't think you can't just activate your speedrun at some point. It has to be like from the start of the game. So yeah, this is still something that I definitely need to explore more, but I just wanted to show you how to do like the most basic stuff with this. So this is pretty much the end. So if you look at the status bar at the bottom here, in a minute I think it's going to say end of movie or something like that, because this is where I stopped, right? I mean, I think the game crashed here anyway, but yeah, this is where I stopped doing my so-called speed run. So if you look down here, give it a bit, because it's still recording the time that I took to talk. But in just a moment, it's not going to do it. Well, okay, I don't know if it's having problems or we just need to wait longer, but in any case, I mean, this is where I stopped. So basically, when your speed run is finished, it says down here in this gray status line here, it will say something like end of movie, and the game will keep running. Well, in this case, the game, yeah, here we go, at movie end. That was it. So that's the end of my movie. So at movie end. And so the game is still running, or in this case, it's not running because it crashed, but normally the game would still be running at this point. So you could still keep playing the game, but your speed run is over. Your speed run would be done at this point. So, yeah, that's it. That's how you record. Again, the word speedrun here, I'm using the word a bit loosely because I'm not that much interested in this as a way of doing everything fast necessarily, but just as a way of playing games automatically, having sort of automatic inputs to games, if you will. That seems more interesting to me than just trying to get through a game as fast as possible. So this is all that I know right now about the subject. I haven't really done any more than what I've just shown you now, so there's obviously a lot more to learn and know and kind of explore with this kind of stuff. Again, I feel like this program, JPC-RR, it's a little bit immature. It has a bunch of bugs. It has a bunch of features that still need to be developed. It's kind of rough around the edges. It's not that user-friendly. It could definitely be a lot better, but it's the only tool that really exists for this kind of thing for DOS games, as far as I know. If you folks are aware of anything similar or anything that might work better, please let me know. I'm definitely open to feedback and ideas, but this is just something that I wanted to show off because this is, the community of people who are speedrunning DOS games like this is very small. Compared to people who speedrun console games, which is a huge community, there are not that many people who are speedrunning DOS games. And when they do, it's of course it's stuff like Doom or Wolfenstein or other sort of action games like that. There are speedruns of this very game of King's Quest 1. There's an incredible speedrun of the first, the original Quest for Glory game, which is insane. I think somebody finished the game in like less than 2 minutes, if I remember right. People are doing incredible things, but the community of people doing that is very small. I'd like to see more people doing it, and I kind of want to get into it myself, which is why I started exploring this, and I made this video to encourage other people to do the same. So I hope this was interesting. I know that, as usual, I made this video very prematurely before I had any idea of what I was doing, so it's probably obvious I really have no idea of what I'm doing, but at least, I set out to do... I set out... I did what I set out to do, which was to make a very short recording of playing King's Quest 1 and then having it automated, having it play back in an automated fashion. So having automated input into King's Quest 1. So it worked. So that's it. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching, everyone. Again, comments are open. I'd like to hear what you folks think, or if you have any ideas or suggestions for expanding on this. Yeah, let me know what you think and what comes to mind when you think about this, or if you know anything, if you have any further suggestions, or if you have any sort of cool insider tips on stuff like this, let the world know. All right, thanks for watching, everyone. I will talk to you all later, and until then, bye-bye for now.